Jake Conover and Grant Looters. All right, welcome in, Coyote Nation. It's good to be back. If this is how it's going to look at the USD program, if we take a week off, we're not going to take any more weeks off.
That's right. It feels weird. It feels like it's been a long time, but that was all my fault. I was traveling for work last week, so I screwed up the schedule. But of course, in perfect timing, we just had 600 things drop for Coyote football, even though it's only February. So it's fitting. It works perfect. It's great.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, you know what? You were the one that was just complaining to me about not being able to fill content. This isn't the content we want in some of this stuff, but we're here for it. This is what we got, so we're going to rock through it. And first of all, we'd like to welcome you in, Corey. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it, guys.
Man, I'm excited. I know what you've been doing behind the scenes with the schedule, which we'll get into, has kept you busy and maybe even up at night a little bit. So we appreciate the heck out of you taking some time to join us tonight. So we'll get rolling. And as a reminder to the fans that are watching with us live, feel free to throw in any questions, comments that you have in the chat, and we'll get things rolling. Now,
do we want to, Jake, do you want to let Corey introduce himself? I guess for anybody who doesn't know Corey and his role and kind of what we're talking about, we can, Corey, go ahead and give yourself an introduction, tell everybody kind of what your role is in past and current and all of that, if you don't mind, and then we can kind of roll into it for a little context.
Yeah, happy to. So currently I'm the Deputy Athletic Director here, oversee all of our external operations. So communications, marketing, ticket sales, video production, development, all those areas, along with facilities and event management, which was my background coming up in my career. So been at USD now 7.5 years, was the interim athletic director for a little bit after David Herbster left and before John came on as our athletic director, and came on here as a senior associate AD of facilities and operations after spending 11 years at Wake Forest University. So I'm a Southern boy, grew up in Georgia. So grew up in Georgia, but I've got a wife from Iowa, so South Dakota makes a lot of sense. And I have loved the heck out of the last 7.5 years of being a Yote. So I love being here.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks for joining us. So what was it like going from, you said it was Wake Forest, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So what's it like going from, well, they were ACC at that time. So what's it like going from a P5 to FCS?
That was my biggest question in taking the job here is what is that transition going to be like? And honestly, I have loved every minute of it and never looked back. I'm not somebody that sits here saying I'm dying to get back to a P4 one day. I love the level of contact and impact we can have on our student athletes more directly in a department this size and certainly at the mid-major FCS level is just very different. I can know the guys in the football program, right? You're at a P4, that looks a lot different, and get to know those guys and know who you're kind of fighting for every single day to try to make their experience here as excellent as possible. But I think for me, coming from Wake Forest, which that is an institution, an athletic department in the ACC or for any P4 that's doing more with less, right? So I didn't come in here with the mentality of the blank checkbook, like I'm used to getting to do whatever I want to do in my area that I supervise, and I came in already with the mentality of kind of doing more with less, which is what every FCS mid-major program in the country is doing every single day, is trying to do more with less. So for me, that transition wasn't crazy. And honestly, it just really, really, really felt like home, as cliche as it sounds. That's what every recruit says, right? Like I went there because it felt like home, but that's what it felt like to me, is like, this fits me. This fits my personality. And this level in South Dakota in particular was just the perfect fit and perfect transition for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I guess I didn't even think about that too, on the Wake Forest being kind of on the lower side in the ACC. So very cool. Well, Hey, again, thanks for joining us. Again, it kind of goes back to what you were just saying about being able to get such a firsthand experience with the athletes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why we're having so much fun doing this podcast too for USD. I have plenty of friends that, do the Iowa State side of things, and they one time had an offensive coordinator on. They've never had a player on. They've never had the athletic department on. So I just love how connected everything is together. So
100%.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. But we'll get caught up here quick, and then we'll jump into your side of things, Corey, on that non-con schedule there. But we got to get caught up on some past Yotes. Joey Lombard signed with the Arizona Rattlers, an indoor arena football team. So shout out to him on that. I know he's definitely looking to stay in the football world, so that's a big move for him. And then some other stuff going around USD. One coming up next week that I know everyone is very excited for is United for USD. Starts February 18th through the 19th. 24 hours of giving. Corey, have you had much with that? Have you interacted much with the foundation on that?
Oh yeah, heavily involved in that. We all are from an external side. The success of that event for the university, not just the athletic department, right, is really, really important. And certainly from the athletic department our end, I mean, every dollar raised, is going directly to impact our student athletes. And so, yeah, that's a real important one we stay on top of. Probably not as much this year as I normally would be, because as you alluded to, last week's been a little crazy. So that pulled my attention away a little bit for sure.
Yeah. And I just got home from the Sioux Falls event to kick it off.
There we go.
Here. They definitely have that 2.67 circled. That is the minimum is what they're hoping for tomorrow or the 18th. So very excited for them on that. It's a great opportunity to give back to the university here and pretty much any form that you want to. I know the wife and I are probably going to be looking into the Beacom School of Business on our side of the donation, but you can break it down to, if I'm not mistaken, football, men or women's basketball, golf. It covers all of it. So whatever your choice is, you feel free to make it on that. Then USD women are facing off against the NDSU Bison at 1 p.m. on Saturday. This is a big deal because it's Dollar Dome dogs and Dollar Drinks are back. And if I'm not mistaken, that went pretty well, didn't it, Corey?
It was a fantastic success. That was a home run. That was a home run. Credit to Jaron Duffy and his staff and our partners with Sodexo for getting that done. But that was a huge success to the point where we sat around literally that night and said, all right, we got to do this again. So I think the goal moving forward is going to be, you're going to see one men's basketball game, one women's basketball game, and one volleyball game each year where we'll do this as long as the popularity is there. But yeah, that was a great event, and we look forward to it again.
You skipped a sporting event there, Corey.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna call you out on that one.
Yeah. I figured you guys might catch that. We'll say logistical challenges associated with the other sport there. Honestly, we would love to do it, and I joke, but I'm serious. Like logistically, I'm not entirely sure how we would pull that off for football. But it would be awesome to be able to find a way to do it at some point in the future.
Absolutely.
What I'm hearing is it's harder to move 10,000, dome dogs rather than a couple thousand. Is that right?
It takes a few of those warmers, man, to keep those things in good shape for the patrons. So
and here's the guy that will run you out of business on it too. So Matt is actually the only one that took our challenge. I don't know if you kept up with us during the football season, but we challenged Yotes for the 4 for 4 in 4. He's gonna do 8 for 4 for 4.
8 for 4 for 4. There we go. I love it.
Keep the concession stands open in the fourth quarter. And if it goes to overtime, because that was the Northern Colorado game that he did it in.
Oh, that's right.
And so the concessions closed on him because he wanted to do 5.
That's some ambition. I respect it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And then the last thing, still coming up April 17th, Calling All Coyotes. Now, this event is a blast. And, worst case scenario, you get a chance to bump shoulders with all sorts of USD folks here, and best case scenario, you leave with a USD golf cart. I mean, it is a load of fun. We are still waiting for some people to reach out to, but back to pack table at Calling All Coyotes sounds really good.
That does sound really good. That
I agree.
You guys got to make that happen.
Absolutely. So we're just waiting for, I might have gotten commitment from some other people, but we still have 6 seats to fill up. So if there's anybody interested in doing it, hit us up. It would be awesome to have a full table. I think regardless, we'll have a back-to-back slice of a table, but if we get 10, we're all for it.
Love it.
100%. Right. We got plenty. We got a lot of time before then too, which is good. We'll get it squared away.
Absolutely. All right. Now's our chance to welcome in Corey. So obviously we got all caught up on that, so we'll go ahead and jump into it. But you guys nailed it down and announced it today. So thank you for that. We appreciate the announcements happening on Thursday. It just makes our shows easier.
You're welcome. Yeah, absolutely.
Especially with the great graphics too.
Like, how can I accommodate to the back-to-back podcast? That's what he thinks about when he's in his office.
Well, I couldn't. Grant was wearing me out. He was trying to find every angle to figure out who this opponent was. He really thought he was being slick, asking me what conference they were in. I knew if I told him, he was going to go out and scour the internet to figure out who didn't have that game plugged in. So, so I wasn't willing to give it up.
No, I think the most important thing was August 29th. I thought maybe there was a potential where somebody'd want to do like an August 27th. Would that be a Thursday? Yeah, like a Thursday early kind of game there. And then, of course, we'll talk about it more. And then, of course, you know, the coveted, is it a D1? Is it a D2? And kind of some of the nuances that go with that. But, yeah, if you don't mind, Corey, maybe just kind of walk us through kind of that process. I know we've talked about it a little bit before we went live here, but talking about how it came together with Central Connecticut State. That was the last game to kind of finalize the schedule. But then two, how difficult that process can be, not only finding somebody with a similar schedule, but the nuances of you want that D1, you try to avoid the D2, but as we know, sometimes that happens and it is what it is. But if you don't mind walking everybody through that, I think a lot of people are really interested in that process.
Happy to. So there's certainly, it is the only part of my job, and I tell people this all the time, is literally the only part of my job that I do every single day when I come into work is work on the football schedule. And it may be 5 minutes or 5 hours, but it is literally the only thing that is consistent, that every single day I'm in it, in the football schedule. And it takes a lot of patience and a lot of not giving up, because it's a challenging process, because every institution you're reaching out to is weighing out 50 different things, right? And making the decisions of this. These are big decisions, right? Where am I going to send my football program? Can my budget handle this? From a competitive balance standpoint, am I putting my program in a good spot, or am I putting them in a bad spot? Am I putting them too many times on the road? You know, we play a Valley schedule, right? And the Valley schedule is hard. And so you want to make sure you're being respectful of that when you build out your non-conference schedule, so that you can put the team in a position to be successful. You don't want to run into scenarios, and we've run into them the last few years. I mean, look, the blackout game against Northern State was a ridiculous amount of fun. Doing that on a Thursday night, having an in-state D2, they were phenomenal to work with, but we have to work hard to avoid that scenario. We were talking about it a little bit before we got on, that the committee and the way they look at that, having the D2 on your schedule hurts more and more, it feels like, each year. And I think that's very real. And we've seen what it has done to some other programs in recent years, and potentially costing them a playoff spot. So our push was just shy of any means necessary to get a D1 in here. And I'll tell you, we utilize a system, a third party, a contractor that works with probably 98% of Division I and Division II football programs, to be able to look at every possible opponent and see who everyone else has scheduled and on what weeks, and how things match up. And this week, August 29th, so week 0, we were down to about 8 potential targets of institutions that would fit. Out of those, 3 of them were Missouri Valley programs, so they come off the board immediately, because we're already playing them. And so you're down to 5 institutions, and then you start digging into that, and you're going, okay, well, this institution, their week 1 and week 2 games are both on the road. They're not going to go on the road in week 0. They're not going to go three in a row on the road. Mm-hmm. And you start to pick things apart like that. I will tell you that when it comes to Central Connecticut, I thought there is no way. Because when their schedule comes out, you're going to see like they've kind of got a murderer's row to start their season with what they've got. And so I didn't think there was any shot. Reached out to their athletic director, Tom Pinsence, and took a flyer and said, "Hey, look, don't write me off. Let's at least talk," is basically how I put it. And then he and I went back and forth probably 3 or 4 times a day for the better part of a week, and started negotiating, figuring out what the priorities were on his end, what his challenges were, what we were looking to do. And honestly, like, ultimate respect for him. And we were able to walk out of it in a win-win scenario. I will tell you that the vast majority of the time, it never happens that fast. That we pull it together in basically a 7-day span. Usually this is months-long processes with institutions. I've had institutions that I've talked to for 2 years before we get games on the books, because it's just a complicated process. But yeah, I mean, it's one where we are, offering them a guarantee. That's what it took to get them here. Instead of looking at a situation like a home and home scenario with them. And ultimately it's a win-win. We got what we wanted, which is their 2-time conference champ, which means they've been in the playoffs the last 2 years. It's a quality Division I opponent that we get to bring to the Dakota Dome, and they got what they wanted out of it, and both sides were able to walk away really happy. And anytime you're working a deal, that's ultimately what you want to do, right? Is end up in a situation where both sides are pleased. But yeah, I mean, look, guys, this is a subject I could talk for 3 hours. So what I would say is hit me with any questions you've got or anything. Otherwise, we're going to get to midnight and you guys are going to be like, we didn't cover anything else. So I can just
the good news is,
but yeah.
The good news is, Corey, I love this stuff as well. The scheduling, I think it's so important for competitiveness and all the playoff implications and all the things that you just mentioned. And it's actually funny when you brought up or when Central Connecticut State was announced as an opponent, I went and looked at their schedule, and to your point, I was like, there's no way. They already have 4 non-conference scheduled. However, Jake pointed out that there's only, I believe, 7 conference games in the NEC, so that gets into that 12 total. So to your point, it actually is a win-win for them as well, because if they were going to make an at-large potential playoff push, or looking at filling out a full 12-game schedule, they're going to consistently have to find 5 non-conference games to, play and get that filled out if they want to do all 12, which I think everyone really, that's their goal. So at first when I saw that, I go, what am I missing here? And then it was the conference game. So I agree with you. I think it's a slam dunk. We mentioned it earlier. This is a team that's back-to-back conference champs, kind of a program on the rise, in my opinion. So it's a great opponent for us as well. I don't think anyone should expect Central Connecticut to come in and roll over week 0. No. That's not their expectation by any means. So, but again, I agree. You've heard me say it on this show before, I'm sure, but I will never pick against the Yotes in the Dakota Dome. So they're still going to be walking into a bus, on my opinion. But I think it's a great way to round out this non-con for sure.
Yeah, and Grant, you brought up a couple things, in regards to like the 11-12 game. I think everybody's going to be very surprised once all schedules are released across FCS at how many institutions will play 11 games this year and not 12, because they changed the rule kind of late in the game on us, so to speak, when it comes to the scheduling world to make that 12th game permanent. And you end up in a situation at the FCS level where most of us, vast majority, are trying to find an FBS game. So that's 1 game on the road already. If you're in what are the majority of conferences where you're locked into 8 conference games, all right, well, that's 9 of your games right there. Generally speaking, you've got a home and home. And so you've got 1 game at home and 1 game on the road baked in, which means probably 70% or more of FCS was looking for a home game. Well, the math doesn't match in that scenario, right? Because we were all sitting there, and we certainly were in this boat where we already had committed one home, one road FCS game and a road FBS game with Boise State. And we're like, well, we got to go find another home game, right? And there were a lot of schools in that same position. And we were fortunate to have the resources to go out and do what we need to do to get a D1 and get a home game. But there's a lot of schools that just wrote it off. And frankly, Central Connecticut was one of those institutions. And they were very open about it. They said, look, we had already committed to just playing 11 games at this point. Like we were just going to play 11.
Interesting.
Nice. With it. And they're self-aware too, right? They know their conference is generally speaking a one bid conference. So they're gearing up for conference play, and that's the focus, as they should, right? And so their AD's, going, I don't know if my coach is going to want to do this.
Right.
But they're actually in a very similar situation to us in a lot of ways, where they're going to have a new starting quarterback this season. And they're actually finding a lot of value in this game, just like we are, because they want that quarterback to get as many reps as possible before he gets in, whoever wins that job there, before he gets into conference play. So those are some of the things that I would never know, right, in reaching out to a school like that ends up making a deal like this work.
Yeah. And actually, you brought up a person that I wanted to talk about because it was in the comment here. Central Connecticut State's head coach is from Nebraska. Great find here by Overlook FCS.
Well done.
Was he involved at all in the conversations, Coach Lechenberg?
Not with me. I just talked directly to their athletic director, but certainly their athletic director spoke to their head coach and had those conversations as you do. But I from my standpoint, football is different than virtually any other sport, and pretty much any other sport. The coaching staffs themselves do the schedules. Coach Peterson has someone on his staff. Coach Amy has someone on her staff. Coach Williams, Leanne's got someone on her staff that handles the schedule, right? Football is different, that it's done administratively. So it's administrator to administrator, then it's up to them on their individual campus to loop their coaches in as they see fit on their campus.
Okay. Gotcha. No, and that was a great pull there. I had no idea on that. So the fact that he graduated from the University of Nebraska, he actually graduated with an egg. So I was doing a quick research on that just to make sure it was correct too. He actually graduated from Nebraska with an egg business degree. So head coaching was definitely in the cards at that time.
Love it.
All right. And
that's great.
I say grab this
one other
from Sarah real quick.
Oh, yes.
So
yes.
Just wanted to say you got fantastic guests and she loves this kind of content. So there's a shout out for you, Corey, on that. Go ahead, Grant.
I was going to say, I could talk about this for a long time too. So I'm sorry if I'm hijacking these comments, but you make a really good point, Corey, is that it's kind of a win-win because one, we needed to fill that as a home game, right? Which, like you said, is difficult, especially when you get those percentages, right? 70-30 split on that. But I think for the upside for Central Connecticut is not only you're getting more reps in before you start your conference play, but not to open a wound, but they probably look at a Lamar from last year that kind of had a situation where, at the time you're thinking, oh boy, this is kind of a tough game to schedule, right? That I think everyone anticipates will probably be a preseason top 10 type team, but gives them a chance to kind of see where the measuring stick is at for them when they hit the road. So again, I'm never going to pick against the Yotes in the Dome. I think that's a really bad move for anybody, but I think it's really interesting for them. And to your point about, I saw a lot of seniors on their team as well. So they're gonna have a lot of new faces, just like we will, at some really important positions as well. So very cool, very cool. And then I will say pivoting, it seems like we've always had a really good relationship with the Big Sky in general for non-con.
Yes, absolutely.
I know there's some geographical things that probably play in our favor there as well, but looking forward, of course, we've got Northern Colorado. That was a home and home. We've got Eastern Washington, which for folks, if they look ahead, they'll see that we're returning that. We'll go out there in 27. And then really looking ahead, we've got a home and home with Idaho in 29 and 30 as well. So seeing that develop, it looks like, or it appears to kind of what you're talking about, we're really in a good position to have these non-cons start to fill in a way that is already kind of built out with, FBS, but then also that Big Sky relationship, I think, is fantastic.
It's crucial, to be honest, because those institutions are dealing with some of the same challenges, if not the same exact challenges that we're dealing with from a scheduling standpoint. So right off the jump, I mean, Big Sky, Missouri Valley Football Conference, we all know how strong those two conferences are. So not everybody wants to load their non-conference schedule up with schools from those conferences. It is flat out a barrier. Like, there's several hurdles we have to get over to get a yes to do a home and home or to do a guarantee game. And that's right out the jump. Is other institutions are evaluating, do we want to add a team of that strength to our schedule? Maybe not. That might not be a good fit for them. And that comes up a lot. The other piece is geography, flat out. You look at the locations of the institutions in the Big Sky and the Missouri Valley. And certainly if you're talking about the Dakota schools, and us in particular, there's not a ton within driving distance, right? So you got to have programs that are willing to fly, are used to flying. That's not a big deal. I mean, I have had multiple conversations with institutions that will say, and they're really great people, right? And they'll be honest with you and say, look, you'd be our only flight all year. Why would we do that? Like, we're not used to that. It's not that, it's not even a budget thing in a lot of cases. It's just like, why would we completely take our team out of a rhythm and do something we never do, which is jump on an airplane and go? And that's just how it is. And so the Big Sky programs are used to it. And so much of this is relationship driven. Like Eastern Washington, give a shout out to my guy, Alex Kelly, out at Eastern Washington, who does the scheduling out there. We talk all the time, and it's not always about how are we going to get more Eastern Washington USD games. It's, hey, what are you seeing? What are the conversations you're having? Like, is there somebody you're talking to that's not a fit for you, but might be a fit for me? And so it's building those relationships kind of across the country with other people that are working on the schedule. And you may never end up playing them. There's a couple institutions where I've talked to them like 50 times. And it's kind of a running joke now that we're like, well, we can probably give up on playing each other. It's just never going to line up, but maybe we can help each other get some other games. So very relationship driven, like a lot of things, and getting to know people across the country at these different institutions. But yeah, I mean, we've got a, Portland State's coming back. That's another Big Sky program. We've all got thoughts on that one. We're all looking forward to it in a few years. But yeah, certainly lean in heavy on partnering with Big Sky programs, because it just makes sense.
Yeah. It just it feels actually eerily similar to what's kind of going on behind the scenes in the FBS world. It seems like they're trying to split into just being two conferences of the FBS, whether it's Big Ten or SEC.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, the supposed Big Tens and SEC of the FCS are now working together to schedule each other in the non-con.
Yeah, you have to. And, two more things I'll mention, and I know y'all don't want to spend the whole show on scheduling, but like I said, I can go. You've got several conferences that when the NCAA went to the 12 games allowable, immediately said, okay, we're going to add a 9th conference game. All right. And we're going to add that 9th conference game in week 0 so that our programs don't have to go out and find somebody. So immediately you had all these schools completely go off the board. And the Big Sky is actually one of those, which makes our world even a little more challenging, right? That all of a sudden it's like, okay, now we're jammed in even tighter trying to find fits with some of these programs that have been historical fits for us. So, I don't know if I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know if that's something the Valley, if they add membership down the road, we'll ever look at doing, go into that 9th game. But it is something some conferences have done that just makes it even more challenging to go out and get those games. And then the other thing I predict, you're going to see more FCS programs playing Division II games this specific season than probably ever. And you guys can stay tuned and put a smile on your face down the road when you see some of the institutions around us that'll be playing D2s, and I'm proud to say that we've got a full D1 schedule.
Good to know. I like the dig.
Yep. That's I was gonna say I already know one of them as of that. So I'm as you can start to put the pieces this time of the year together pretty quickly. To your point, Corey, right? About who's looking for what, and you brought it up. It's a narrow field real quick.
It does. Right. Yeah, the window closes on you.
So we got a question in the chat for you, Corey. Can we get some mid-afternoon or night games to allow folks to travel game day?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love this question. And it's an extremely fair question, right? And it comes up quite a bit. I'll tell you, as I'm sure everybody knows, there's so many different things that come into what happens with our game times, how those game times are selected. We all know we end up playing D-Days every year at 2 p.m., so an hour later to give more time for things like parade, campus activities, frankly, tailgating, right? And give a little more time for that every year. But I'll throw out a couple things. One, the short answer is yes, we're actively working on scenarios to bring in some later games. I will tell you that at least in the near future, the next few years, the most likely scenario to see that will be revisiting what we did with Northern State in terms of a Thursday night game. That was a success for us. Not something that we're looking to do every year because I think there could be some fan fatigue associated with that, but something that we're looking to sprinkle into the schedule when it makes sense over the next few years. So we've already got some of those charted out to get some Division I Thursday night games on our schedule in the non-conference. And then when it gets into just a normal year where we may not have a Thursday night game, we're working around a lot of different things with the way the volleyball schedule has evolved over the years and the fact that, we share a building. You get into basketball season and you end up having those basketball, football doubleheaders, volleyball, football doubleheaders. We have to be really cognizant of what we're doing there to maximize the experience for our fans and our student athletes there and try to be as mindful as we can of also, frankly, what we're doing to staff and media outlets and everybody else and just setting ourselves up for success. And football's that 800-pound gorilla in the room, right, that you kind of have to work everything else around. But sports like volleyball, et cetera, they have rules built in about how early, how late you can start contests. So you have to be very mindful when you're setting those game times to accommodate that. We found a real sweet spot with football at the 1 p.m. time. I know we have a segment of fans without a doubt that would love to see that later every once in a while. The other piece of that is the continuity for our football program is a really, really big deal. And I can't understate how valuable it is from a routine basis for our football program to lock in the time. When I'm at home, I got a home game. I know exactly how my schedule is going to lay out. It's going to lay out just like it was 2 weeks ago when we won at home. It's going to lay out that way this Saturday when we're going to win at home again. So there's a lot of value from a program standpoint of trying to keep those times consistent. Our hope, obviously, moving forward with media and broadcast deals is certainly to get picked up more and more and more from a national standpoint. And when that happens, you lose control of game time and all bets are off, right? And that's a positive. But for those reasons I laid out, we try to be consistent with our game time, but we're not blind to the desire of our fan base to have some more evening times. And our strategy for the time being to satisfy some of that is to work in some Thursday night. It'll be home openers, it'll be Thursday night home openers that we work into the schedule.
Awesome. Yeah. Flashing back to that Northern State, that Thursday night, that was fun. It was a lot of fun change up. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. So that was a blast. So I appreciate you guys going out and trying to adjust that for it. The one question I have go ahead, Grant.
No, I was just going to say, hey, that Thursday night game, thinking of the future, said ESPN picking up a week 0 Big Sky versus Missouri Valley football game on a Thursday night. That would be something that not only sounds realistic, right, but that would be something that would hit in week 0. I think just the fans would love something like that. So glad to hear that that's in the mix for sure.
Yeah. And to get that Big Sky one, they're going to have to change their scheduling strategy because that's where they're plugging in that 9th game.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Okay. So maybe it'd be it might be a week 1, but then you really start to get in that gets tricky with the short week. And
if we're going to do Thursday night games, it's going to be
week
in
0.
week 0. Yeah.
Yep.
And there's a lot of advantages to that. And challenges, but there's a lot of advantages to that from a program standpoint to get in there, play on a Thursday, get yourself a little more rest before that week 1 game too. So, but yeah, still targeting D1s to do it. But coming in on a Thursday night in the next few years, you're going to see that pop up and we'll reveal that down the road.
Nice.
Perfect. The last question I have with the Boise State game.
Yeah.
Obviously, when that one was scheduled, they were Mountain West. Does anything change now when they are going to be Pac-12 next season?
Yes. One thing changes. It's not a very sexy thing, but one thing changes, and that is our officials will come from the Pac-12 and not the Mountain West. We have to do an addendum on the contract for the officials, but that's the only thing that changes. That was a really fun game to put together. Jeremiah Dickey, their athletic director, is phenomenal. He was amazing to work with, and just how these processes go. Like I told you, like some games I've worked on for 2 years. Sometimes it's 7 days. That one got done. My family, we do a lot of camping in the summer, and we were camping out with a bunch of my wife's family in eastern Iowa, and I'm standing out at the campground around the campfire, literally flipping hamburgers on the phone with Jeremiah Dickey, and we got a game done. So awesome. It's a lot of fun. He was fantastic to work with, and that's going to be a great game. Our team is certainly fired up about that trip, and they love the challenge of the FBS games, right? Like, man, and I'll tell you, going back to my Wake Forest, the staff here probably gets tired of hearing me say this, but I love these games from this side of the street. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Because I am telling you, it is so much fun to be the team that's not supposed to win and to scare the daylights out of the FBS team. I'll tell you what is not fun is to be the FBS team that runs into the scare. That is not fun. That's where things get stressful. So I think those games are a ton of fun. That's a cool place to go. So I certainly hope we have plenty of Yotes that make the trip out there to support the team, because that's a unique trip. That would be a lot of fun.
You guys gotta get out there to see the blue turf.
Absolutely, I'm excited about it. Right, just as a college sports fan.
I was gonna say that. I mean, that's a bucket list stadium just because of the blue turf itself, right? Let alone that Boise State has such a rich football success history. They're coming off Mountain West champs, so they're going to have a quality team. But tell you what, those red pants, red helmets, whatever we trot out there against that blue turf is going to look really good in the picture books. There's no doubt about that.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that one.
I will say it would have been comical had you guys had Eastern Washington as our away game, just to go from red to blue for turf and not having anybody. Yeah.
Wasn't the worst thing to split those up, the red turf one year and the blue turf another.
Exactly.
All part of the plan, right, Corey?
Yes, absolutely. Key strategy.
All right, and real quick before we flip over, actually, the women's basketball game just got done. Went into overtime.
Got it done.
Stress on the Coyote fans there, but they got her done 65-70. So shout out to the women in the pink uniforms tonight.
W for the women, and Coach Amy's doing a phenomenal job with that program. So awesome to see them get the win tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, you can definitely we have 2 episodes that we could do for sure, just talking about the jobs that both men and women have done this season with the issues, the buzzsaws that they've ran into.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and keep rolling here. Corey, feel free to hang out with us, because actually it still kind of affects your job anyways with what we're going into
next.
Cool.
I'll hang out.
Perfect.
All right.
But real
quick.
Oh, I forgot that this slide was in here.
Oh, yeah.
So CSG Nodak has been in communication with us. Their rivalry went out the window, and apparently to most people in the state, we don't have a rivalry currently. What does it take to get a rivalry renewed with North Dakota?
Yeah, I mentioned you guys before we came on. I saw this, and I appreciate the thought that was put in. I don't hate. This is just me speaking, not me on behalf of the University of South Dakota. I want to be very clear.
Disclaimer.
The flagship cup is not bad. I don't know if that's the winner, but that's not bad. No, I honestly, Jaron Duffy and I were talking. The days run together. It may have been today or it may have been yesterday, but definitely we want to reestablish. We want to push to reestablish some trophies associated with some of these rivalry games, whether it's the UND game or the South Dakota State game. I think there's value in that, certainly from a fan standpoint, but from a team standpoint, I think there's value in fighting for the trophy at the end of the game and the pride that comes with taking that home from a rivalry game. No, all for it. What I'll say is, that's something that literally starts at the presidential level, because that's a big thing, right? Like you got to have two institutions that are completely on board with the messaging, the imagery of whatever it is, and all those things, and how you represent the two programs that are involved, those types of things. So that starts at that level. But then trickles down to the athletic directors at the institutions. But I'll tell you, it is not a conversation. It's not a conversation that's dead in the water at all. There are active conversations about both the UND game and the SDSU game. And does that mean anything happens before the 2026 season? I would no, no. But I think all of those institutions recognize that there's value there. In some ways, it's kind of crazy we don't have something, right? There's effort that will be put in there in the coming months, and hopefully not trickling into years, but to try to reinvigorate some type of a trophy, some type of a name associated with those games. And I think there's a lot of value. I think it's a ton of fun, and I don't think anybody would argue with that. It's just getting the right people on the same page and moving forward with something.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we used to have the trophy, but obviously for certain reasons, the Sitting Bull Trophy did get retired. So it'd be nice to have one. If we're going to if we're throwing names out, obviously it's not on either side of the state for both of us, but the Badlands does go through both. And just saying, Battle of the Badlands.
That's not bad either.
That's not bad. I like that.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
I was going to say, I think it's also cool. I think, again, this is maybe trivial, but like you said, having both flagships, right? North Dakota versus South Dakota, just on paper sounds really good. To your point, historically, we used to, we got the picture up here of the old Sitting Bull Trophy that, went back and forth for an extremely long time. And then actually shout out to Jay on Midco. The other night, I'm watching the basketball game on TV, and the trivia question on Midco was, what two events are the only things that have stopped USD and UND from competing in sports? The two events were World War II. That stopped a lot of things. And then the second one was just North Dakota going to the Big Sky temporarily. I mean, we still played them during COVID. We, all of that stuff. So those are the only two times in I can't remember what the history is that we haven't played. So to say that the history is rich is an understatement, right? I think there's some really good merit here.
100%.
Absolutely. All right. So we're going to go ahead and flip over, but real quick, we got to get a word from our sponsors here. JJ's Wine, Spirits, and Cigars, located here in Sioux Falls. Be sure to stop in to check out all their super premium wine selections that they have on hand. They also have, they specialize in whiskey, but have a large selection of all the top spirits. And like I always say, when you stop in, don't forget to flip to the other side of the building and check out the bar. Their drink menu is to die for. And like I always promise, hit up that Bloody Mary. But be sure when you stop in to let them know that Back to Pack sent you. All right. Now, some other news happened. within the building, Coach Johansen accepts the defensive coordinator role at Rutgers. He'll be taking Coach Finney with him as well, our cornerbacks coach. All I say is nothing but the best for you, Coach, and good luck. But you guys made life way easier for us in office and hired somebody. I think the easiest way to describe that day was that Friday was I was way down here and way up here all in a matter of just an hour or so. So it moved quickly, but welcome in Coach Vitzthum, co-offensive coordinator and quarterback coach last season, and was a wide receivers coach in 2024 before spending 11 seasons at Grand Valley State in Michigan. So I do want to ask Corey, what was Friday like in office?
It was a very interesting day in a lot of ways, because I think sometimes people think like, maybe we knew what was going on weeks that was not things happened as fast as they appeared to happen. It was really quick, and that happens in our world, and you have to be prepared for that. And Friday was an interesting day. We had actually really kind of encouraged a lot of our staff. It was a very unique weekend because we didn't have any home athletic events. Tennis was playing, but they were playing up in Sioux Falls, and so we didn't have anything on campus. So we kind of encouraged our staff to, hey, take a little time, take a breath, right? Nothing going on. Like this is the time to do it. So it was really quiet around here until it wasn't. I'll just say that day was really busy. But I wouldn't describe it as hectic, right? Like it was very efficient. I could not be more proud personally of how everybody that was associated. It was a very tight, very small group of human beings involved in this. But, John was phenomenal through the process all day. We were, as you do with the head football coach, you're talking to, he's in contact with President Gestring throughout the day, who was unbelievably supportive in the scenario. And then you had just a couple of us that knew what was going on and what was about to go on, but really handled very efficiently is the word I would describe. Yeah. And no snap decisions, everything was made for all the right reasons all day long, and how we approached everything. And I mean, you want to talk about getting to the right result quickly. Coach Vitzthum, nobody got to noon on Friday and was like, hey, do you think Vitz could do this? What you're having to do when you are in administration athletic department is always be prepared for this scenario. You have to know, do I have somebody on staff that I think can take over, or are we in a situation where we need to go outside the institution and do a national search? And we were very fortunate to be in the situation. We felt very, very strongly that Coach Vitzthum was the guy, and he's going to do an absolutely phenomenal job. I really look forward to people getting to know him. Unbelievably genuine human being. I describe him as a player's coach. The team absolutely loves and respects this guy for who he is on and off the field. And that's going to show in the coming weeks, and that's going to show on the football field in the fall, right? So incredibly excited about Matt. We call him Vitz. So excited about Vitz taking over the reins. Again, just going to do an excellent job. His vision for the program, I won't roll it out. He gets to roll that out himself at the press conference tomorrow and in the coming weeks. But his vision for the program, his passion for this place. I mean, this is a guy from Algona, Iowa, not that far away in the grand scheme of things, right? That understands this part of the world, understands what the University of South Dakota brings to the table, what our value is, right? And respects that, and has just an unbelievable passion for wanting to make sure that this football program reaches its full potential. So I'm ecstatic that this is the guy taking over our football program.
I was going to say, when he was announced, he was on my short list of what was in-house as an opportunity for head coach. So I know there's a few other options in there as well. But when it was announced, I put a few texts out, and every response back I got was this is the guy. This was not a snap decision by any means. It wasn't a desperate hire to save face in this new era of transfer portal, because we know actually it started today. The portal started today for all the players on USD again, because there was a 5-day we had a 5-day window for Coach Vitz to talk to his team before. They have a 15-day window now going into. But it means so much more pulling somebody in-house that has the connections with these guys. Yeah. And so I think this is a knockout hire. With how quick it moves, I can see a lot of people calling desperation, but I don't think this is anywhere close to that.
Yeah, I guarantee you from somebody on the inside, it is definitely not a desperate move. I tell you, there is no better feeling, though, than knowing you have the person inside in this day and age of college athletics in February. So that's a really, really good feeling to know you've got that guy, because it would be challenging to go outside and bring somebody in from the outside while attempting to hold the team together. I mean, that would be a tall order for, I don't care who you brought in. No, really good feeling to know we had the guy here who was ready to go.
Absolutely. No, that's fantastic. I'm so excited. I've already reached out to Steve to hopefully get Coach on soon, but obviously everybody got that email from the Yote Fund of the South Dakota tour for Coach.
Yes. Yep.
His schedule's full, so maybe I'll just go bug him on the 26th up here in Sioux Falls instead at Pizza Ranch.
There you go. Yeah, no, I joked with him just last night. I said, I just got done planning your life out. And that's what happens. You take over that head coach role, all of a sudden you're not as in control of your own personal schedule as you used to be. So, I didn't run all those dates past him. Worked with Keegan Kemp, who does a phenomenal job on staff there. And Keegan and worked with us and our external staff on putting that list together, but excited to get Matt out into the community in front of people, and people are going to really, really enjoy getting to know him.
That's fantastic. All right, Grant, you got any other thoughts on the coaching hire?
No, I think you guys hit a lot of what I had thought. I guess just a few thoughts in general. I think certainly always tough to have a head coach do one and done, right? So with Johansen moving on, I think it's difficult. I think everybody probably didn't think that runway was going to be short, but I also think we all saw the trajectory that Johansen was on in general and what folks thought of him and highly thought of him. So, but I think it was either John, I believe it was John in one of his media releases had said something about, you really always have to ask your current coach, is your successor in the building? And I think even Johansen, to your point, said absolutely, without a doubt, that's Matt. So again, I think it's great. I think it's also great that Matt's stepping up to this head coach position in a year where we're going to have a new face at quarterback for the first time in a very long time. And there's no one closer to the quarterback room than Matt. So I think them nailing down QB1, Coach said it, and again, I think it was a press release this week that he said we have 3 very capable QBs in the QB room. It's going to be a very important decision for the success of the team this year. And I mean, no one's more qualified than him. So him being able to help make that assessment is going to be really great this year for the team. I really believe that.
Yeah, he's fired up about the guys in that room. I'll tell you that much. So he's excited to get going.
Is.
It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird seeing somebody besides Aiden Bauman back there.
It really is. It really is.
Be a little bit odd, but we got some really talented guys in there.
Absolutely. No, this is going to be fun. It's similar to last season. We have, I don't want to call them question marks because they're not really concerns, but we get the fun of unknowns going into next season.
Right.
So
that's right. You don't have
exactly.
You're not sharpieing in the name on QB1 for the first time in 3 years, right? So
exactly,
it's a little bit different.
All right. So again, like we said, a lot of things happen when you take a week off. So we promise we won't take a week off again. But the Bison are moving on to the Mountain West. This one, it's interesting. And I posed this question, and Corey, you can definitely answer it with it too. Was this desperation or was it the right move?
I'll never speak for another institution,
Yeah.
but it makes a ton of sense, right? Like, I think it's very difficult to look at this and say it's not a good fit for them to make the move up. I think a lot of Matt Larson up there, their AD, he's a really sharp guy, really good guy. They're up there making decisions that are the best for their institution, right?
Absolutely.
As we all should. So who would I be anyway to second guess something like that? Right. But, you know, as an outsider, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. My thought with it was desperately correct, if that makes sense. Because we all know that there is that tag to move up to the FBS. That $5 million entry fee is nothing to balk at, especially for the FCS world. But then you kind of anticipate that making that payment, but that $12 million fee that Mount West put on them as well, that they will pay over time, definitely seems like they took advantage of somebody that was desperate to move up. And so that's kind of where correct and desperate in my mind came from.
Yeah, I think that's the number that jumped out at so many people, or at least it did for me. Is that I think it ended up being 17.5 million, right? Was the total number they kept referencing, and I think somebody even made the joke that, gosh, maybe the Mountain West got the idea from Sac State, because I think they were flaunting that they would pay 10 million to enter a conference, right? So that was the running joke online, but. I think to Corey's point, this is something that we've been talking about for what feels like 10 years now, that when is NDSU going to go FBS? The Mountain West geographically always felt like the best fit. I should back that up a little bit. The Mountain West is a very different looking conference than it was, 2 years ago, let alone 5-10 years ago, right? This conference has changed a lot, whether they liked it or not. We talked about Boise State leaving for the Pac-12, with a host of other really strong teams leaving for the Pac-12 as well. So this Mountain West today is not the Mountain West that it was probably 5 years ago, for sure.
I was gonna say, I only recognize 5 teams on that list there.
Yeah, and some of it seems like, I was gonna say, and I spent some time in New Mexico as a kid, so I still follow New Mexico pretty closely on some of their fan pages. They don't seem thrilled with the Mountain West. They think a lot of their fans would like to see them go Pac-12. And I mean, there's jockeying for conferences, we've seen that forever as well. But again, I think it's the right move. Geographically, it still makes some sense. In my opinion, I don't think there's any reason they can't go in and compete right away, just based off of the teams that are in there now, right? That's the other thing that I think is probably attractive for them. I know somebody ran an analyzer of I can't think of the SP Plus is one that does all of the rankings through FBS, FCS, D2.
Yep, Bill Conley.
Yes. And somebody took those numbers, put it up against the Mountain West results, and it looks like NDSU would be near the top. Now that last year's team is maybe a little bit different than this year's team, but it just gives you a little bit of context that, hey, there's no reason they're going to come in and be a bottom feeder like we saw Kennesaw State, Sam Houston. They really struggled when they made the jump. I don't see that for NDSU. I hate to say that, but I think they're going to have some pretty darn good success early. But I think that's also a feather in the cap to the Missouri Valley Football Conference in general, to say, hey, we understand this is the best football conference in FCS football. And it may not be that much further behind the Mountain West, which is FBS. That gap may not be as large as some people like to think.
Yeah, and I actually saw something that was comparing the strength of conference versus each other. It was not a huge difference. So it would be 100%. Interesting. The other thing to look at too for NDSU, obviously they are going to appeal for it, but as it stands right now, moving up, they are not allowed to compete for a conference championship, and they're not allowed to compete for a CFP position until 2028. Which, yes, I agree fully with
Dumbest rule in college athletics.
It is. JMU deserved some opportunities as well. But with that, my question stands is there has been so much speculation of what the CFP looks like, not just this year, but the coming years. They're working to work out those G5 teams already. There might be a spot in the future where NDSU doesn't even have a chance to compete for a CFP position because the G5 was written out entirely. So I'm just,
I think you're exactly right. It's kind of a gamble from that perspective. You're gambling on one. You hope the playoff continues to expand. That gives you a better opportunity if you're any group of 5 team, right? But you're also concerned that does it continue to expand at the expense of the group of 5s the way that it's set up? That's the part I don't know. In my opinion, I'd love to see them do it how the FCS does it, right? Bring in group of 5s, give them an auto bid, and who cares if they lose by 35? They've earned their spot, just like we do with no offense to the Pioneer League or whatever league that gets an auto bid that maybe isn't probably a top 40 team, 50 team some years, but it always works itself out. So I know it's bigger than that. We're not going to solve the world's problems in this conversation around it, but it is an interesting move. I am really interested to see how it all works out for them and what that looks like from a college, college playoff perspective, because we've seen FCS NDSU get AP votes and finish in the top 25 at the FCS level. Certainly that path is a rocket ship if you're FBS and they feel the same way about you.
Absolutely. Now, Corey, actually, I'm glad that we have you on for this because this tweet is interesting that talks about competing at a reasonable level or above league average. What does that mean? If you can decipher that for the casual.
I'm not 100% sure. I found that fascinating as well.
Yes.
I'll be honest. I looked at that as both a collegiate administrator and a fan and went, I'm not 100% sure I know what that means, but I am 100% sure that I know that NDSU knows what that means, because you don't go into this not sure what the ramifications are for success or levels of failure. So I'm 100% sure they know what that means. And I'm sure that there will be some clarity that comes out of that in the coming days and weeks, right? I'm not 100% sure I know what that means. I'll be honest. I don't anticipate that the word struggles is going to come into play for them. So I don't know what is at risk for them in that scenario and what the benchmarks are, but I can guarantee they wouldn't have gone into it if they didn't feel confident that that was not a concern.
Yep. Yeah. It just obviously grabs a lot of Summit League fans' attentions because is 8-4 at league average, is 6-6 at league average. And if they're taking away funds from other sports, what does that mean for basketball? And then obviously they have wrestling in the Big 12, but it definitely raises a lot of question marks for that. So yeah, I think you're right. NDSU definitely knows what's going on, and it'll be interesting to see what it looks like when it comes out, because it always does.
Oh yeah.
So I have Corey, I do have 2 quick questions for you. I know we're going to wrap here in just a minute, but in regards to this, 2 questions is, 1, do you ever see a scenario where NDSU would schedule a former Missouri Valley team to play a non-conference? We talked about a little bit the FBS versus FCS game. And then question number 2 is kind of expanding on that. Do you think there is an opportunity for the Missouri Valley Football Conference to go and add another team now that NDSU has left? I know no one knows anything at this point, but just want to get your thoughts on those two items.
Yeah. I'll give my disclaimer, right? I'm good on disclaimers. I'm the information at the end of the prescription drug commercial. I'm the full disclaimer, but no, I wouldn't speak for them. But to answer your first question, I think the answer is no. You got to look at risk reward when you're scheduling. There's a lot more at risk in doing that. If you were to have a team go up there and beat them, because I'll tell you this, they're not going to go on the road ever again and play. a Missouri Valley team, right? So there's a lot of risk associated with bringing a program in that could upset you in the Fargo Dome, right? So I just don't, for the moderate level of even low level potential reward, which is really, let's be frank, more on the fan side that it is the institution side. I don't see it. I don't. In terms of the Valley membership, it would be interesting. I think that they will be very, very calculated, as they should. I don't think that there is an ounce of panic of we got to go out and add somebody, nor should there be. You look at the makeup of the Valley Football Conference, it is really strong today. Right now, it is very, very strong. And there's no reason on any level to go out and snag somebody just to play the numbers game of how many institutions you have. But if there's anything I know, it's that we'll wake up tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. and they'll announce that they've added somebody, because that's how college athletics work. No, I think from a Valley standpoint, they're going to be extremely strategic and just watch the national landscape every single day, like every other conference is doing. And if somebody all of a sudden shakes loose, that's a great fit, then fantastic. But it's such a strong conference as it is today. There's just no reason or pressure to feel like you got to run out and go fill a spot.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I agree too. I think the numbers work out well, because now it's taken us to this round robin where you get to play every single team in the conference. So leaves you with the 4-4 as well, which is nice. Absolutely. So I think there's a lot of, I don't think there's any reason to rush out, but to your point, it's nice to always have that option available if something does happen 1, 5, 10 years down the road.
Right.
But
all right. Perfect.
And then say last thing too. Only other thought for NDSU, would you ever bring UND a bus ride down game, pay them some money? I don't think they'd risk it. I'm with you, Corey. I don't think they'd risk it.
I don't think so.
They would never throw a bone to a Dakota. I don't think.
This shot.
Humble opinion. I don't see that.
I'm with you.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I think we're set in really well here. Unless you guys got anything else. If not, I think this is a perfect time first to say, grab your season tickets. They are available now. So get in on those early. It's going to be a fun season. So definitely grab those. But I think last but not least, go Yotes.
Go Yotes.
Go Yotes. Thanks for having me on, guys. It's been a blast.
Thank you, Corey.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on, Corey. We appreciate the heck out of it.